150 motor accidents in 6 days, leading to 25 fatalities. Difficult to hold local government polls on the 25th of April, says State Minister Vakkumbura. Opposition against the anti-terrorism bill continues. A new act to regulate media.
ඒක සමාජ ජාල මාධ්‍යයට සම්බන්ධයක් නැද්ද? ඒක සියලු මාධ්‍යයන්ට අදාළ වෙන්නට ඉඩ තියෙනවා.
Anti-terrorism bill allows for phone calls and WhatsApp messages to be surveilled and produced as evidence in court, highlights attorney Hijaz Hizbullah. Police opened fire at car that failed to stop in Polgahavela.
And now in your top story, the Sinhala and Tamil New Year will dawn in a few days. And we at News First appeal from our viewers to pay extra attention to personal safety. This is because according to the statistics released by the Sri Lanka Police, 25 lives were lost in motor accidents reported in the past 6 days alone.
A collision between a train and a car took place in Bulugahagoda, Gampaha on Monday morning. It was reported that the car had disregarded the warning signs indicating an oncoming train and the driver had proceeded to cross the tracks. Only the driver of the car was in the vehicle at the time of the accident and he was not injured. A foreign national was injured in a motor accident on Monday morning close to the Kamburugamua Weather on the Golmathara main road. Sri Lanka police said that the accident was a result of a head-on collision between a motorcycle and a tractor. Police said that speeding was the cause of the accident. A Sri Lanka Navy bus veered off the Batiklo-Trincomalee main road in Muttur and crashed into the Pattitidal Canal on Monday morning. The Sri Lanka Navy bus was transporting sailors from Vakare to Trincomalee. 3 sailors sustained minor injuries in the accident. Sri Lanka police said that there was a significant increase in the number of road accidents being reported during the holiday season. Police spokesperson SSP Nihal Talduwa told News First that over the past 6 days, approximately 265 motor accidents had taken place across the country. He said that 25 people lost their lives in these motor accidents with an average of 5 deaths per day. The police spokesperson said that from the 1st of January to the 8th of April 2023, 564 people had died as a result of 534 motor accidents. The Health Promotion Bureau convened a media briefing to spread awareness regarding accidents during the festive season.
The highest number of people receiving in-house treatment at hospitals are victims of road accidents. The next leading cause for hospitalizations during these weeks would be victims of animal bites or victims of assault. Other causes for hospitalization include drowning, food poisoning and accidents caused by fireworks. However, the frequency of these accidents are now less. The main reason for this is because the people are aware of these matters. The general public have been educated on how to protect themselves while using fireworks by the media and various other institutions. That is the reason why we see a massive reduction in the number of accidents related to pyrotechnics being reported, to a point where sometimes there are no accidents reported at all.
State Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Janaka Vakkumbara, said that it would be difficult to conduct the local government election on the 25th of April. Speaking to reporters following a meeting between the Election Commission and the Prime Minister, he said that the Election Commission will announce the date of the election before the 25th of April.
Sri Lanka's Election Commission met with Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo. Recently, the Election Commission addressed a letter to the Prime Minister for a meeting with regard to the local government election, and in response, the Prime Minister had agreed to meet them on Monday.
We discussed several matters, including the fact that the Attorney General was not appearing for the Election Commission in court. The Prime Minister said that several requests made by the Election Commission will be discussed with the Finance Ministry and a suitable program will be introduced. We discussed the need to create an environment to conduct an election.
අද අපි සාකච්ඡා කරේ.
ඇමතුමක් කවද විතර නිශ්චිත කියන්න පුළුවන්ද මැතිවරණ තියන්න පුළුවන් කාලයක්?
මැතිවරණ
The Election Commission will meet with the Finance Ministry for talks. As per the present state of affairs, it is difficult to go ahead with the election on the 25th of April. They will announce the election date before the 25th of April.
යම්කිසි ප්‍රකාශයක් කරයි මැතිවරණ කොමිසම.
The Election Commission will meet on Tuesday to reach a final decision on the date of the election for the local government poll.
What will happen to the local government election? Parliamentarian Professor Ranjit Bandara responded to this question at the SLPP media briefing.
පළාත් පාලන මැතිවරණ කොහොමද පැවැත්වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ ඊළඟට එන්නේ නැත්තරම ජනාධිපතිවරණයක්ද කොහොමද?
කවුද කිව්වේ ඔබතුමාට පළාත්?
Who told you that the local government election will not be held? There is a discussion with the Prime Minister today. We are the people who said that the election must be held, and we are the ones who submitted nominations and placed bonds first. Someone has given you a wrong idea.
Nomination දුන්නේ අපි තමයි අප බැන්නේ. හරිද? ඔබතුමාට කවුරු හරි වැරදි අදහසක් දෙන්නේ නැති.
දැන් ඊළඟ ජනාධිපතිවරණයට ඔබතුමාලා කාටද සහාය දක්වන්නේ නැත්තේ?
අපේ පක්ෂේ.
පොදු අපේක්ෂක කවුද එන්නේ?
පොදු කියලා එකක් නැහැ.
There is no common candidate. The party will decide. The presidential election is due in 2024.
ජනාධිපතිවරණේ පැවැත්වෙන්නේ 2024 නේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඊළඟ පොදු අපේක්ෂක රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා නෙවෙයිද?
අපි දන්නේ අපේ පක්ෂය ඇතුලේ නම් එහෙම.
We don't know. Our party has not held discussions on that. I am appearing on behalf of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. I have no personal opinion. What I am speaking of is the stance of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
මම මේ කතා කරන්නේවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණේ මතය.
ඊළඟ පොදු අපේක්ෂක බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයද කොහොමද?
මං හිතන්නේ ඒකේ වැරද්දක් තියෙනවා කියලා.
ඔබතුමා අර කියපු ශක්තිමත් නායකයා ඇත්තටම බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාද?
මං කියවනේ හිස තෙල් ගාලා.
I told you, didn't I? Let us anoint oil for the new year, and at the next media briefing, a stronger member of our party will make the announcement.
ප්‍රබල කෙනෙක් ඒක ප්‍රකාශ කරයි.
Journalists raised questions on whether a group from the Samagi Jana Balawege will be joining the government.
Some are saying that 40 or 50 MPs are leaving. They said that they were going on the 4th, and now they are saying that they are leaving this month. We are not saying that no one is joining the government. There are few who are waiting to do that. That is not something big for people who crossed over in the past just to get a ministerial portfolio. But we as the Samagi Jana Balawege are strong, and we are forming a broad alliance to establish a government in the future. Sajid Premadasa and the Samagi Jana Balawege will lead the formation of this government.
ඒකට නායකත්වය දෙනවා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා ඇතුළු සමගි ජන බලවේගය. නෑ රාජිත මහත්මයා
Rajitha had been preparing to leave from the moment Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed president. He had an urge to leave. As far as we know, there is opposition from that side to accept him. That is the reason why there was a delay. The fact that Rajitha Senaratne crossing over is not a big issue. But remember that just because Rajitha leaves, the Samagi Jana Balawege votes will not be lost.
ගියා කියලා සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ ඡන්දේ හිට යන්නේ නැහැ.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාට උවමනාවක් තියෙනවද දන්නේ මේ වන විට එදාට වඩා මේ වන විට එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ සමග ජන බලවේගය ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා වැඩ කරනකොට පොහොට්ටුව යම් පිටි පැත්තකින් ක්‍රමක්‍රමයෙන් තියන්න යම් කිසි උමනාවක් තියෙනවද?
ඔය තුමාට ඕමනා ඇති. ඒක අපිට මෙයා කරන්න බෑ.
He might want to, but we can't do it. There are certain things that he knows as well. He knows that the UMP does not have any votes. He knows that the SLPP also does not have votes. He has a dream to be elected president. So if he wants to win the presidential election, he has to join a party that has votes.
වෙන්න නම් එතුමාට ඡන්ද තියෙන පක්ෂයක් එක්ක එකතු වෙන්න ඕන. පාර්ටි නායකතුමා හැටියට ඔබතුමාලා ගැටෙන්නේ නැති ඒක උදව් කරා. උදව් කරන්න තිබුණාද අපි?
We could have supported him if he joined our party. We can't go and join his party now, can we? He has only one seat. We have 54. The bigger party is the Samagi Jana Balawege.
අපිට බෑ. අපි ලොකු පක්ෂයේ විදියට සමගි ජන බලවේගය තමයි ප්‍රබල.
Last May, Ranil Wickremesinghe took over a pot with a hole in the bottom. He took over the country at a time when the economy had collapsed. The country had gone bankrupt. There was gas and fuel queues. People were agitated. However, in a very short period of time, the country is restabilized, and it has become possible to celebrate the Sinhala and Tamil New Year in a country which is in a better condition than it was earlier. Although the problems have not been solved completely, efforts are made to reduce the prices of goods in the country, to reunite the nation, to establish law and order, to increase the fuel quota by eliminating the fuel shortage, and to provide relief to the people by reducing prices. This is only done because of Ranil Wickremesinghe. If he rules his country until 2030, you will be able to see the recovery of a developed state that you are hoping for this country. Otherwise, if we carry out agitations by fooling the minds of each other, we will fall back to the situation which we were in last May.
නැවතත් අපි මේ පහුගිය අවුරුද්දේ මැයි මාසයේ තිබුණ තත්වයට මේ රට ගෙනියා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe participated in a discussion at the District Secretariat Office regarding the Nuwara Eliya City Development Plan. Nuwareliya's new city development plan and tourism plan was also launched at the meeting.
Can I speak the truth? A lot of people say that Nuwareliya town is an ugly town. Are you going to make it even worse from the plans you're putting forward? I have come to Nuwareliya town throughout the decades from the 60s to the 2000s. Are you mad to allow hotel constructions like this? Who made this plan? First tell me if you have completely supplied the water and sewage requirements. There needs to be a complete system. You can't just keep using deep wells. You continue to deceive successive governments like this. How many governments tried to change this? An officer would come, show plans and leave. There is no economic development nor infrastructure development. Some of these are good, but before all of this, we must issue a cabinet paper saying that you can't construct more than 4 floors for a building. Let's build a university in Nuwareliya.
සමන් අපි කැබිනට් පේපර් දාන්න ඕනේ තට්ටු 4කට වඩා හදන්න බෑ කියලා. නුවරඑළිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයක් දාමු. ඉමීඩියට් ලෙස යුනිවර්සිටි එකට පටන් ගන්න. කමන්නේ අපි කොහෙද ඔයගොල්ලෝ අපි කතා කරගමු. ඕකනේ හොඳම.
We will talk about it. On one hand, there is the high altitude. On the other hand, there are technical colleges. And then we can have a university. Then if we create an education center like that, someone can even build a boarding school here.
සෙන්ටර් එකට අරගත්තාම කාට හරි පුළුවන් හොඳ boarding school එකක් දාන්න මෙතන ළමයින්ට. මේ රටේ ආර්ථිකය ඉවරයි.
A lot of people thought the economy of the country is irredeemable. Now after the IMF agreement, people are saying that the economy could recover. One plan is to stabilize the economy in 4 years. By 2025 we can do that. But that is not enough. We have to find new funds. We have to move forward. We can find some of those funds from the Nuwareliya district. That is why we came here to talk about the Nuwareliya town. Then by acknowledging that, we need to restructure the town in a way that we can attract tourists. If these things are not done, no one would visit a place like this for a holiday.
ඒවා නෙකරෙනවා නම් කවුරුත් යන්නේ නැහැ ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල නිවාඩුවකටවත්.
Businessman Dilip Zavira had expressed the following at an event in Colombo.
When the economy collapsed, even for the 17th time, we are going to the IMF. We do not have our own policies. We do not have our ways to find solutions. All we know is to continue with these traditions. This way, our nation will not be able to produce productive people. We ourselves are destroying the environment to produce creative personalities. If we are continuing the same old traditions that existed for the past 75 years and expecting a new change, then it is useless. As Kumaratunga Munidasa said, the nation that does not create and build new things will never rise in the world. We have to think differently.
As Sri Lanka's political circles continue to debate on such matters, the question arises whether the issues of the common people have been resolved. Here's a look at some of the issues that have been neglected.
The 2 CT scan devices at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital have malfunctioned, thus causing serious inconveniences to patients. More than 5,000 patients visit the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital daily for treatment. For the CT scan, around 10 patients are directed daily, and following the 2 devices malfunctioning, patients have been compelled to seek the services of private hospitals.
One CT scan malfunctioned in February and the other malfunctioned in November last year. Both CT scan devices have malfunctioned. We are helpless as we are unable to obtain even a scan report. The repair cost is extremely high and it is not something that a hospital can afford. The health ministry must intervene and solve this issue. If not, we will face a crisis at the largest hospital in the south. This hospital is visited by patients from Anuradhapura as well. The people are inconvenienced. Some patients cannot even afford the bus fare. When they are unable to get a test done, they are rendered helpless. There is no other option except to weep.
Here's a look at the current state of the country's railway service used by a majority of the population to commute on a daily basis. Sri Lanka Railways received the report of its head guard over an incident where the Samudra Devi train engine detached from the rest of the compartments in Kalutara on Sunday. A senior official at Sri Lanka Railways said that the head guard in his report had noted that an issue with regard to the engine detaching from the compartments was not observed. He added that the head guard in his report has also noted that he did not have a clear understanding of the issue. The Galle to Maradana Samudra Devi train engine detached from the compartments in Kalutara North on Sunday. Railway operations along several routes were hampered in recent days due to accidents and derailments. Operations along the Batticaloa route were hampered on Sunday after 2 wild elephants were run down by the Trincomalee to Fort Colombo night mail train between the Galloya and Palugaswava railway stations. The Colombo to Trincomalee train operations have been restricted to Kakirava currently. On Saturday, the 8th of April, operations along the upcountry route were hampered after a tree fell onto the tracks between Haputale and Idalgashinna. Sixteen people were injured when a train derailed on Friday, the 7th of April, in Agbopura, Trincomalee. The Colombo to Trincomalee bound train operations were restricted to Galloya. On the 6th of April, operations along the upcountry railway line were hampered after a train travelling from Fort Colombo to Badulla derailed in Talawakale. On the 2nd of April, operations along the northern route came to a standstill after the night mail train from Anuradhapura to Fort Colombo derailed in Mahava. Following this derailment, operations along the northern route were limited to Mahava.
The lack of maintenance and the collapse in infrastructure facilities have led to the operation of trains below the minimum standards. The required number of tracks, brake boxes, oil and material required to maintain the fleet of trains has not been received. As a result, the number of train accidents increases. We are witnessing that now. Derailments, malfunctions, delays are being experienced. Train engine detachments are not the result of issues with employees. There are coupling issues, and we pointed it out when they were imported to the country. 99% of the derailments are due to the lack of facilities. The Colombo to Anuradhapura night mail train derailed 3 times within a month close to the Mahava train station. Sri Lanka Railways must determine the cause for this and take action. The relevant personnel have been instructed to conduct an inquiry and the results are pending. There were issues with regard to maintenance. We cannot rule that as the only cause for the derailments.
Shouldn't proper attention be given to the safety of the railway service that is used by hundreds of thousands of Sri Lankans on a daily basis?
News first with the people.
The GCE Ordinary Level Examination 2022 will commence on the 29th of May. The Department of Examination said that the GCE Ordinary Level Examination will commence on the 29th May and will conclude on the 8th of June. The Department of Examination said that the exams were rescheduled due to the delay in marking the Advanced Level Examination answer scripts, and the O-Level examination will definitely take place on the rescheduled dates. And now let's cross over to a short commercial break and come back for more news.
Thank you, Talawakale, for turning up in your thousands. The Shakti TV New Year celebration, the Shakti Upcountry Beat, was a massive success thanks to the massive response by the people of Talawakale. Shakti showed again who's boss. The voice of the Tamil-speaking people. Shakti TV.
It's time to give it to back to mommy.
Now, moving on with the news, 2023 World Bank Group IMF spring meetings got underway with a virtual discussion between the heads of the IMF and the World Bank.
The 2023 World Bank Group IMF Spring Meetings is currently taking place in Washington, USA. On Monday, the main discussion was on the way forward, building resilience and reshaping development.
For many of the developing countries, it looks like they're in a phase of decapitalization rather than recapitalization. That goes with your point that instead of having convergence, meaning people with lower incomes growing faster than people with higher incomes. So convergence toward a higher level, that's not happening right now. It's actually a divergence, and that's gravely concerning. That means inequality, that means fragility for countries, and we see more countries falling into fragility. One of the concerns with the with high prices now, high prices are being applied to food and fertilizer, and a concern for the poorest around the world is the farmers are not able to plant, and if they don't get fertilizer, often they won't plant for the crop cycle because they know that their yields will be too low.
Central banks do have a preoccupation to bring inflation down, and it is paramount because without price stability, there is no sound foundation for investments and for growth. Their job has become more complicated because of the exposure of vulnerabilities in the financial sector. That means attention has to be paid to financial stability. Fortunately, they have different tools they can apply to deal with these two different problems. They can fight inflation by keeping interest rates higher for longer, and they can provide targeted liquidity should there be a need to bring down risks to financial stability. What we have seen is a remarkable, rapid and effective intervention by policymakers, primarily central banks, but not only. Financial authorities, supervisory authorities, regulatory authorities. Once there was a problem exposed, they acted swiftly.
The spring meetings will continue until the 16th of April.
State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe is representing Sri Lanka at the IMF World Bank 2023 Spring Meetings. Recently, in a tweet, the State Minister said it would be a great opportunity to enhance cooperation with Sri Lanka's international partners to ensure debt sustainability and to further the progress Sri Lanka has made towards economic recovery.
Attorney Hijaz Hizbullah points out that if the Anti-Terrorism Act is passed in its current form, officials will be able to listen in on phone conversations and use them as evidence in a court of law. He made this statement addressing a joint convention held in Colombo today. A joint convention attended by representatives of trade unions, farmers, fishermen, students and mass organizations and civil society was held in Colombo today. The convention was organized to stand up against the erosion of democratic rights, sale of national assets and the suppression of the people by bringing in new acts.
ත්‍රස්තවාදී වැළැක්වීම පනතේ තියෙන දරුණු වගන්ති ත්‍රස්ත විරෝධී පනතේ නැහැ. එකක් තමයි පාපුච්චාරණය.
The worst provision in the Prevention of Terrorism Act is not included in the Anti-Terrorism Act. That is the provision which allows for confessions to the police to be used as evidence in court. Secondly, the Prevention of Terrorism Act does not allow for the suspect to meet the magistrate. Usually it is only after about 1.5 years that a suspect will be produced before a magistrate. But in the Anti-Terrorism Act, the suspect must be produced before the magistrate every 14 days. Thirdly is the torture. Since the Prevention of Terrorism Act had no requirement to produce the suspect before a magistrate, the suspects will be tortured on the 4th floor of the CID and he or she will only be produced before the JMO once all of his wounds have healed. But that is no longer possible under this act. When you look at it, it seems like it's a good act. But why is there opposition against this? The true story is that this act is being marketed to the people based on these provisions. All the limits set in the Prevention of Terrorism Act have been removed. Any police officer can use this act. Any DIG can issue a detention order. Thirdly, under Section 61 of the Act, a superintendent of police has been given the power to stop rallies and meetings. He can stop anything. He only has to go and inform the magistrate about it. Also, for the first time in the history of Sri Lanka, they have introduced two new provisions. One is secret reports. The police has no right to present secret reports to the magistrate in Sri Lanka. Any report produced to the magistrate is public and can be perused by anyone. An attorney representing a suspect can peruse the content of those reports and has a right to present facts to the magistrate. But under the new act, the police have been given the power to produce secret reports. This is a very dangerous development. We speak of WhatsApp because the phone calls are encrypted. That can be removed now. According to this act, the police has the right to obtain an order from the magistrate to decrypt any encrypted call. The police also have the ability to listen in to those data exchanges under this new act. Intelligence units used to listen in on phone conversations in the past, but they could not produce those conversations in court as evidence because they cannot say that they were listening in on the calls as it is illegal. But under this act, it is made legal. In short, this is a very dangerous act.
අහන් ඉන්න අයිතියකුත් දැන් දීලා තියෙනවා. මේ අලුත් පනත යටතේ. ඉස්සර බුද්ධ්‍යාංශ වලින් දුරකථන ඇමතුම් අහන් ඉන්නවා කියලා අපි කතා වෙනවා. නමුත් සාක්ෂියක් හැටියට ඒක උසාවියට එන්නේ නැහැ. ඒයි කවුරුත් පිළිගන්නේ අපි අහන් හිටියා කියලා. කියන්න බෑ. ඒක නීති විරෝධී. නමුත් මේ පනත යටතේ ඒක නීතිගත වෙනවා.
This was the response of Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa.
If any media or institution is engaging in acts of terrorism, any anti-terror act, even in another country, would give a right to act against it. If anyone does not have an intention to use the media that they have access to or their cell phones to engage in any terrorist activities, they should not be afraid of this act. Also, if people are against granting these powers to a police DIG under the supervision of the magistrate, that means that people have more trust in giving those powers to the president.
While ambiguity looms over conducting the local government polls, discussions continue on several new draft legislations. The Anti-Terrorism Act, Anti-Corruption Act and the Central Bank Act are some of the main pieces of legislation that are being discussed. Speaking to the media after attending an event in Battanamulla, Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa elaborated on the legislations.
We are preparing a draft of the Broadcasting Authority Act. We are going to create a broadcasting authority. The existing system is not successful. There are several laws to govern granting of broadcasting licenses, but there is no common law to govern them all.
සංස්ථාපනත වගේ දේවල් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. පොදු නීතියක් මේ සම්බන්ධව සකස් වෙලා නැහැ. ඒක සමාජ ජාල මාධ්‍යයට සම්බන්ධයක් නැද්ද? ඒක සියලු මාධ්‍යයන්ට අදාළ වෙන්නට ඉඩ තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the Pivituru Helaurume expressed their views on the central bank bill at a media briefing held today. On the 4th of April, the Speaker informed Parliament that the Supreme Court has informed him that the central bank bill is in accordance with the Constitution and can be passed by the majority of the Parliament. If the entire bill is in accordance with the Constitution, then the question of what the Supreme Court wrote and sent to the Parliament over 54 pages will inevitably arise. Whoever the person advised the Speaker read only the last paragraph because of boredom to read all of the other 54 pages and has advised the Speaker that the Supreme Court has informed that the entire bill is in accordance with the Constitution. We suggest that an internal inquiry be conducted in Parliament on these officials for intentionally or carelessly misleading the Speaker. Also, the central bank bill is like a letter of a child. A bill so flawed has never been put on the tables for discussion in Parliament. According to what we know, this bill was not prepared in the legislative drafting department. It has been prepared externally and sent to the department. In that case, the people of this country have the right to know who was paid and how much was paid to draft a bill such as this, because it was paid with the people's money. The Freedom People's Alliance expressed the following views at a media briefing held today.
The central bank governor and the finance minister repeatedly stated that this country's debt restructuring does not include domestic debt restructuring. Now they admit that the local debt is actually being restructured. It will inevitably cause greater harm to the people of this country. Now the central bank bills are the first to be affected, but the EPF and the ETF will be affected in the worst way possible. If the debt is restructured, more than 1/3 of the money will be lost. As a result, the working masses of the country will be severely prejudiced. This will not stop there. The domestic banking system of the country will be impacted negatively. Then there is the extremely unjust tax policy. When all this is put together, the government knows very well that there will be a massive protest in the coming weeks. Knowing that, the government is taking steps to deal with it. That is, the government is now preparing for a large-scale repression that this country has never seen before.
යම් පියවර ගන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ මහා වර්ධනයක් අපි මේ රටේ නොදකපු මහා පරිමාණයේ වර්ධනයකට තමයි රජය දැන් සූදානම් වෙන්නේ.
Sri Lanka police opened fire at a speeding car that failed to comply with the orders to stop in Polgahawela on Monday the 10th morning.
Sri Lanka police said its officers opened fire at a car that failed to stop close to the Godawela railway crossing in Polgahawela at 10:30 am this morning. Police said that shots were fired at the vehicle's tyres. Despite being shot at, the car continued to move towards Rambukkana from the Haraguda junction and then entered a by-road. The car was found some 3 kilometers away from the site of the shooting. 2 men, a woman and a toddler were in the car at the time of the incident and none of them were injured. One suspect, a 52-year-old man from Vattala, while the other 37-year-old man and a 27-year-old woman were from Paragammana, Kegol. Sri Lanka police said that the woman was in possession of 90 milligrams of heroin and the 2 men were in possession of 6.4 grams and 5.7 grams of heroin, respectively.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, also known as FAO, delivered 3,820 tons of urea fertilizer to Sri Lanka for distribution to smallholder paddy farmers with funding from the European Union.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, has procured a shipment of 3,820 tons of urea fertilizer through funding from the European Union. The shipment was handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture today and is intended for distribution among smallholder paddy farmers and paddy seed farmers in Sri Lanka. The new shipment of urea fertilizer is expected to help over 72,200 smallholder paddy farmers in Polonnaruwa, Badulla, Ampara, Matale, Puttalam, Kurunegala and Hambantota districts who was severely impacted by the recent economic crisis. The delivery is part of a €4 million program launched by FAO and the EU to address the agriculture and food security crisis in Sri Lanka while supporting the introduction of integrated plant nutrient management strategy among identified paddy growers.
The lives of many Sri Lankans at present are spent amidst a multitude of hardships. As a movement created for the people, Gammadda continue to support our own citizens in various forms throughout the year. In light of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, Gammadda launched its latest initiative to provide dry rations to families across the island, making their lives that much brighter this New Year season.
Sri Lanka's economic crisis has deprived many families from having 3 meals a day. Aware of their plight, Gammadda stepped in to help in every way possible. For the 3rd consecutive day, Gammadda distributed dry ration packs to families. This project, which will conclude on Wednesday, aims to provide dry ration packs to more than 1,000 selected families across Sri Lanka. Families for this project were selected based on several criteria approved by respective divisional secretariats in coordination with Grama Niladhari officers. Today's phase covered the areas of Galle, Anuradhapura, Kataragama, Jaffna, Mannar, Batticaloa, Bandarawela, Kuliyapitiya and Mathara. Gammadda's true strength is with the people. While enhancing our portfolio of rural development projects, come at the stands firm in its resolve on addressing the starvation of the people.
Sri Lanka's moot court bench, also known as MCB, has reached new heights in legal advocacy.
At the prestigious Willem Seavis East International Commercial Arbitration Moot held in Hong Kong, two teams trained by MCB showed their mettle. One team emerged as champions of the moot, while the other made it to the top 32. This landmark achievement is a testament to MCB's specialized training programs in international commercial arbitration, international trade law, international mediation and negotiation. A moot court competition stimulates an arbitration hearing in which participants analyze a problem, research the relevant law, prepare written submissions and present oral arguments before a panel of arbitrators.
We form different university teams and then we choose the top two teams to represent Sri Lanka at these international moot competitions. But having won the entire competition, we have a lot of eyes on us in terms of the arbitration community, and this is in fact quite a big win given Sri Lanka's growth into arbitration as well.
What sort of inspired you to join this, and rather what was the training like during this tournament?
My personal reason for joining mooting was because it would really help me apply the law I learned, and it was practically something I thought was really great. So if anyone doesn't want to join mooting because they're not too sure about themselves at the beginning, through the program that confidence would be instilled in.
It was our first experience in person attending the Viz in Hong Kong. I don't think either of us were prepared for the scale of the tournament. We had to go up against 111 teams, and ultimately ending up as champions is something I don't think either of us envisioned.
The MCB is Sri Lanka's first fully integrated legal advocacy training platform that provides special emphasis on programs related to international commercial arbitration, international trade law, international mediation and negotiation.
A Sinhala and Tamil New Year celebration was held at Nuwara Grand Hotel premises this morning. The Nuwara Grand Hotel Employees Welfare Association and Hotel Management organised this event for hotel employees. Prizes were awarded to the winners at the end of the ceremony. The General Manager of the Nuwara Grand Hotel, Suresh Abbas, says that another Sinhala and Tamil New Year's event will be held on the 14th of April for local and foreign tourists arriving in Nuwara.
Thousands of opposition supporters rallied in the Georgian capital as the Black Sea nation's government faces mounting accusations of backsliding on democracy.
Demonstrators gathered outside the Georgian parliament for a rally organized by the country's main opposition force, the United National Movement, the UNM, founded by jailed ex-president Mikhail Saakashvili. Protesters waved Georgian, Ukrainian and European Union flags and held a huge banner that read, quote, "For European future," unquote. The ruling Georgian Dream Party's government faces accusations of jailing opponents, silencing independent media, covertly collaborating with the Kremlin and leading the country astray from its EU membership path. Last month, tens of thousands took to the streets in Tbilisi after Parliament gave initial backing to a draft law on foreign agents similar to the legislation used in Russia to suppress dissent.
China ended 3 days of military drills around Taiwan, saying they had tested integrated military capabilities under actual combat conditions, having practiced precision strikes and blockading the island that Beijing views as its own.
Beijing announced the drills on Saturday after Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen returned to Taipei following a meeting in Los Angeles with U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy. China has never renounced the use of force to bring the democratically governed island under Beijing's control. Taiwan's government strongly disputes China's claims and has denounced the drills. Chinese state television said earlier on Monday that aircraft, including nuclear-capable H-6 bombers armed with live missiles and warships, staged drills to, quote, form a multi-directional island encompassing blockade situation, unquote.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News here on TV1. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, take care, and have a good night.